Hey there. Thank you all so much for joining me. I am Lisa Doyle. I am a longtime real estate agent here in the Bay Area in California. And one of the things that I hear all the time, I mean, practically daily from families here in Northern California is, and I work in the East Bay, is they're contemplating moves across the country and trying to decide where the best areas might be. So I love to introduce my friends, realtors from across the country that you guys can talk to if you're thinking. So I have a wonderful agent here from Texas, and we'll talk a little bit about his market. His name is Josh Ransom, and thanks for joining me, Josh.
Hey, hi.
Thank you so much. So, hey, Josh. So, what I want to do is, like I shared with you, like you and I talked, families moving from California to all over the country, and Texas is one of the common destinations, right? A pretty popular. So, tell them a little bit about the area that you work. Like, what is your specialty area?
I'm my market area is mostly Montgomery County, which is just north of Houston. I'm
Okay.
also able to serve some parts of Houston, so that's generally my market area.
Yeah, and we've got the map here, of course, to share with everyone. I think the areas of Texas that I hear most often questions about is Houston and the surrounding, what's your area? Austin, right? Surrounding, and then Dallas and surrounding is kind of the three common requests, but definitely the Houston and surrounding area. And Montgomery County, from what I understand, is beautiful.
Hmm.
We'll have you
Yes,
there. Yeah. So before we get into a little details, because what we're going to do today is we're going to actually be speaking to basically three primary audiences, right? We get a lot of families that talk about retiring. So you're going to share a little bit of retirement communities and that people moving from Northern California to retire to Texas. We get a lot of people who are just families that are looking for places across the country where it's more like where they can afford to go buy a beautiful home. California's expensive, right? So families, and then I also get a lot of questions about where in the country can someone buy a rental property where it's affordable? So you got all three of those things in your general area, which I love that. So yeah, so basically just share with us a little bit about what you think makes the area special, and then, I'll jump in with some questions.
sure. And Lisa, thank you first of all for having me again. I really appreciate it.
You're
So,
welcome. Thank you.
yeah, I think a little bit of a personal story, just interesting. I've just finished up working with two California clients that have come here. So one, for instance, um, sold a business and they wanted to come here because they knew there was no state tax,
Yeah.
and they wanted to start a business here, actually assisted living facility. So I just helped them find their dream home, and then their next step was they also bought a rental, because the equity they took from the sale of their home, they're able to come here, buy a rental, buy a dream home, and now they're saving for assisted living facility. So just shows you the power of your money.
Well, and it's so true. You're absolutely right. And that is one of the biggest motivators from a lot of families across Northern California. Like we said, California is a beautiful state and we all love it here. And yet when you get ready for certain things like retirement or expanding your businesses, things like that, it's expensive to be here. So people do look to places like your area for that. So you're right. I love that. Yeah. So true.
Yeah, and I think, of course, no state tax is nice, incomes tax. And I guess some of the pros too. I guess what I was thinking about taking Texas, then I'm going to kind of move down into Houston
Yeah.
and that particular market. But Texas in general, it generally is more of a conservative state, and that can mean many different things, different people. So some of the people come here because of that, more conservative values in general. And so that's a kind of a highlight. Of course, no income tax. There's about 2.28 million people in Houston. I'm going to come down to Houston now. Why would I come to a place with so many people? That's not a lot compared to some Californian cities and things, but about 2.2 million. There's 600 plus square miles in Houston. It's a large area.
Mhm.
Lots of diversity. There's people from lots of nations here. It's a very diverse. There's pockets, Vietnamese, Chinese, all different types of nationalities all over the place, especially as you come inside into the downtown areas. It's commonly known as the oil and gas capital of the world. Some would argue with that. Lots of energy, sometimes called the energy capital of the world. Oil and gas is huge. Lots of jobs, create lots of jobs in this area. So big job market.
Yeah.
Forbes magazine ranked it second best place to live in Texas.
Yeah.
Another interesting fact, it's the fourth largest city in the US and fifth largest metro area. Another positive thing about Houston in general, healthcare and life, I guess you would call it life sciences has a giant influence here, meaning like the Texas Medical Center, they're real big in healthcare research. So Texas Medical Center is wonderful. In 2022, the cost of living was 7.9% below the national average. So
Wow.
it's kind of nice. The cost of living is a bit lower.
Yeah, that
It's
is,
not,
yeah,
yeah.
sorry to interrupt you.
I don't know.
That is often one of the biggest motivators from families. And you know what I've discovered too, Josh, that we've seen in the last maybe 5 to 8 years or so, is a lot of families where the parents will move off to places like your area to retire, or like lower their costs, and like the sales tax, like you don't have a state sales tax. Well, the adult children will join them. So they'll follow
Hmm.
behind, or it goes the other way. Sometimes the adult children will move off to a
Yes.
place like where you are, Montgomery County, because it's a place where they can go buy a home and they can have a lifestyle, and then they're retiring parents. They join them. So it's we see it both ways. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of what we did. We came back from overseas and my parents moved to where we were,
Yeah.
which we'll get into later. Woodforest community in particular, that it's a place where the children of these people have come and then parents come and there's a 55 plus connected to that community. So it's actually the best of both worlds. You have a community, then a 55 plus community where they can be in that kind of, surrounding. And then there's the kids and the families right there. And
Yeah.
actually they share amenities. And there's also private amenities just for the 55 plus. So it's kind of a neat
Yeah.
combo of both.
That's the best of both worlds. You get to be around your grandchildren and have the lifestyle and the
Yes.
connect, with the adult environment too. So I love that. That's wonderful.
Yeah. And just a
Yeah.
note too about the food. I'm sure there's some foodies here whether they'll be listening to this that enjoy food. That's one of the things I appreciate about Houston. You can drive in the Bel Air district, Bel Air area. You'll find anything and everything across the world. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, anything from Middle Eastern to Vietnamese to Tex-Mex. Go buy some pho, some sushi. It's everywhere. So that's people. Some people really enjoy that. Move from California where there's so much variety and so many choices of food. You'll find that in the heart of Houston. If you really want it's there.
Yeah, so that's wonderful. Good to hear. Yeah.
And I was going to touch real quick on a little bit on the housing. I think
Mhm.
is interesting. The average home price of Houston and areas, surrounding areas, is about 427,000.
Okay.
So that's an average. Median, a median home price was 335. Okay. Days on market right now. This is actually current. This is as of March. March days on market is about 62 days.
Okay.
If you list a house, townhome condo sales declined about 22%. Inventory is about 6.9 months supply of inventory. And then a last interesting statistic, those homes that are 1 million and more
Mhm.
and above, the sales increased 27% for March.
Well,
So
it's interesting, and
interesting.
it's interesting because what partly for that reason is you're seeing families from places like where we are, Northern California, and I know you're going to show them some examples of
Mhm.
what these houses look like. A lot of people have a goal of selling their homes in Northern California, 2.5 million, whatever the average price ranges are higher, and then going and paying cash for these beautiful homes because they can retire and, have a lifestyle. So I love that. So I'll let you definitely show us what some of that looks like. That'd be great. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that was pretty much it. And the one added on the lower price bracket, if the budget is, I need a house that's 300K for some reason, or I want to buy two of them.
Yeah.
One of them a rental, one of them to live in. 250 to 500K, that actually decreased by 0.4%, which is there's not a lot of those selling as much. So, but anyways, they're there for you to buy. So,
Well, and what's great about what you just shared about this, the data and the statistics is our area is definitely a little bit more active than that, right? The demand here, and we're a pretty small, like, inventory area, so there's not a lot. So they do tend to sell fairly quickly, even though we've
okay.
normalized from the heat of the market, we're not as fast as we were, but they can go to your area and have more choices and have a longer marketing time in general and have maybe a little bit more buyer friendly rather than the other way. So I love that. So yeah,
Yeah.
perfect. I think that you have another slide to share with us. So Francesca, if you don't
Yeah,
mind.
yeah, next slide. Yeah, that'd be great. What you see here, this is a little bit more zoomed in of Metro Houston, huge. And you could even see touches of the Gulf of Mexico.
Mhm.
So you see the Gulf there on the bottom right-hand corner. And as you look at all these numbers, 1 through 13, those are actually 55 plus communities all scattered throughout Houston.
Right.
There's also, I didn't put this in there, but in the heart of Houston, downtown area, it's literally in the middle of the map. There's also condos, 55 plus condos. So if you didn't want the yard work and any of that stuff, you just don't want any of that, that's also available with some of those 55 plus communities. So
Perfect.
just wanted to show you that.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you so much. And that's quite a selection of retirement community availability. So I love that.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
And
Yeah.
the next slide, show you another map. This is just if you move north. And if you're
Mhm.
driving, I'd say 45 minutes to an hour, you drive north, you're in a different county called Montgomery County. That's an area where I service a lot. Also can dip into Houston a bit. But here's another group of 55 plus communities that are beautiful. I mean, we're going to get into a few in a little bit, but there's a Del Webb 55 plus community. But all of these you see here, I think it's 1 through, what do we got? 9, 7.
Yep.
There, and I would say as you move north too, less crowded, you'll see more greenery. You'll be exposed to more lakes. I mean, this is a huge Lake Conroe here. There's also a lot of other small lakes. I don't know if you can see them there, but they're kind of scattered around, little pieces of blue. And so I live actually, we're if you can see number 5 there,
Yeah.
we live very close to that. My parents live in number 4. So that's the 55 plus. No, they don't live in a 55 plus, but they live in that community there.
Hmm.
So yeah,
Nice.
I want to show you that.
Beautiful. Thanks so much.
Yeah. And next slide, I'm trying what's coming up here. This is just an example of one of the 55 plus communities. And then, you can get more of a luxury taste if you wanted. This is kind of more of a basic 55. Some of the, you can see some of the furnishings. Some of these are, already have furniture in them. So yeah, just want to show you that. Next slide.
And this is condo. So give me an idea of square footage and price for like a
Where does
comp.
for this one? I don't know if I have that listed. These can range from 2,000 and up.
Okay.
So a
Very
month.
good.
So
So
sometimes you can get into not quite this nice. You can get into some for 1,800s pushing it. That's really low for a condo
okay,
for 55 plus.
perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. And just now coming into still, this is a Montgomery County area. This is just north of Houston. This is called the Woodlands, and it's probably some of you maybe even have heard of that. Probably the most popular area for all of Montgomery County, and there's a lot of oil execs, oil and gas. They end up moving to this area because it's just beautiful, and there is so much to do. There's biking, there's a winery nearby, there's entertainment, arts and culture, there's museums. It's gorgeous. There's even a waterway that they had built right next to the mall that you can walk up and down this waterway. There's just so much to do.
Yeah.
But you
Well,
can
and a
see
lot of
here,
people,
yeah, go
I'm
ahead.
so sorry to interrupt you. We were chatting about this before. A lot of Bay Area, people that we know, there are a lot of outdoor adventures, right? So a lot of cycling, hiking,
Mhm.
golfing, and I know you're going to show us some examples about that. But you mentioned that it's pretty significant in your area. That's a lot of where a lot of the people that were in our general market, that's what they're looking for. So good to know. Yeah.
Yeah. And there's hiking opportunities. There's Sam Houston National Forest. There is an actual national forest even more north than this. If you wanted a day trip, just get in a car and you could probably be there within 45 minutes, get out and hike miles. And of course, we're not talking mountains like you would see in gorgeous mountains in California and pristine rivers. And
Yeah.
it's a little bit different, but a lot of greenery, a lot of hiking. But yeah, just an example here, you can see the trolley. You could take a boat ride right in the middle of the city.
Oh, fun.
So it's just a fun touch there.
Love it.
Yeah, we'll go next slide. Of course, I mentioned before foodies, but yes, there's anything and everything as far as dining. There's, I didn't put in this slide, but even hotels, motel, there's all kinds of from high-end luxury to, just basic stuff along the interstate. But yeah, we have some nice brick oven pizzerias. There's pubs you can walk to. There's fine steakhouses all up
Mhm.
and down here. So even one I'm going to show you later, right in the heart of this area in the Woodlands, there's kind of like a place where there's a lot of, multi-story buildings. They're also building, which I'll talk about later, a Ritz-Carlton condominium. It's gorgeous there.
Right.
So it's still got another year until they're completed, but that's right in the middle of the Woodlands. So I'm just telling you that to say there's also a 55 plus condominium that they're currently building.
Oh, wonderful. Very good.
Yeah. So go to the next slide. Just again, more about the Woodlands. And and I can send it you if you ever need websites that have a great website where you can look at all, a lot more pictures than this. But there's live music. There is a beautiful performing arts center. There are theaters. The Woodlands Mall is all in the same area. So if you wanted to go take a trip to the mall, there's also something called the Market Street. So they have, Talbots. They have all kinds of high-end type stores if you like that. So it's a beautiful area to take a walk down. And you can see there where it says the Woodlands Mall, there's some of your major stores there. And you can
Yep.
hop on the trolley and a free ride on the trolley and just go all over, go to the waterway, go to the mall, out to eat, go to Market Street. There's lots of fun things to do. And all that, what I would say, is within 1 square mile. I would say even more dense than that. So,
Fun. Yeah.
yeah. Next slide. Go. Let's show that. Oh, I forgot to say this. Even during the summer, as we approach summer, they have live concerts on Market Street. So if you want to go there, go out to eat, do some shopping, and catch a live concert, and those are free. It's almost like Arts in the Park or a
Yeah.
concert in the
Okay.
park, but it's in a shopping area, and they have this really kind of beautiful area with AstroTurf.
Mhm.
Kids can kind of run around in the area if you have children, but you have all the nice shopping right next to it. So it's kind of an interesting how they've done that. And I'm going to kind of come in. Lisa, do you have anything to say? I'm sorry. Were you going to say something?
Oh no, that just was wonderful. I think people love that. That is kind of a lot of our area enjoyment is that type of outdoor, like you mentioned, a lot of that's people walking through the town, having music and outdoor, just arts and crafts outdoor, just a lot of outdoor adventures. So I think that knowing that your area provides the similar, it would be interesting for people. So that's wonderful.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Then there's also some like craft beer type places. If that's your thing, maybe sit beside a fire, go pull up, get a craft beer, sit by a fire. So that's kind of a big thing here with some people. They'll go out in the country. You can literally get in the country in about 10 to 15 minutes. So if you want to get out away from things, take a half day trip, come back by nighttime, it's fine. You don't have to drive in the dark. You're there and you're back. So there's a lot of those little excursions you can do on your own. But the next, I was gonna get a little bit more defined. This
Yeah.
actually is a Johnson development community, and they have them all over Houston actually. But here is one particular one called Woodforest, and I strongly encourage you if you're considering anywhere near Houston to check this one out. And they have a great website, woodforesttexas.org, if you're
Okay.
looking to go there, and it has so much information. But a little bit about it. I'm just going to show you a few houses that, what could you get here? You could get a brand new build from something that's 10 years old. So there's a lot of variety.
Mhm.
They even have these, they're so cute. I use the word cute. They're very cute. How they've made these condos that you can buy. They're just right on a main road, but they've just done such a great job with these condos. But this is actually in Montgomery, Texas, which is just north of, about an hour from Houston. They have this neighborhood is for all ages, but like I told Lisa before, it does have a 55 plus component, like another community that is in the same acreage. So you have a huge tract of land, and they've made something called Bonterra, which is a 55 plus community. You have your own pool, you have pickleball, you have a huge amenities, kind of like a community center. So that's for the 55 plus. If you want to live there, you can buy your own home, but you have access to everything in Woodforest. So if you're in Bonterra, you get the pool, you get all of those, but you also can access the pools. Let's say your kids come and live in that area. Well,
Yeah.
you can go to the pool, their pool, where all the other Woodforest residents live. You can go back to Bonterra, which is about a 2-minute drive.
Yeah.
So, or you could take your bike, and there's sidewalks all throughout the whole community. So you could literally ride your bike all throughout the whole community, go to the pool. There's
Mm.
walking trails. I could go on and on about this community because I helped my parents move into this community.
Yeah.
So they thoroughly researched this community and they wanted to make sure that this is where they wanted to be.
So tell me
Yeah.
approximate price in that neighborhood.
Price points, most is 300K and up. I would
Okay.
say 400 to be more precise. They said, you know how they always say, oh, we're starting at 300s, but
Right.
you're like 390 is where they're at. But probably 400K and up.
Okay.
And the homes are, you could get something, like I said, 10 years, 15 years old. It's not super old, and they're still being, it's almost built out. So, and there is even like someone they have hired called the director of fun. That's all they do.
Oh, I love
Their
that.
job, their main job is to make sure you have fun. There's probably activities every weekend that whether that's wine tasting or some type of someone comes in and does a demonstration. There's just so much going on in that community.
Yeah.
And even the Bonterra side, there's community just for the 55 plus. Art lessons, pickleball lessons. Someone comes in and does like a music kind of type thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and the community has three pools. You can see there, golf course, golf. If any golfers out there,
Yeah.
there's golf courses galore. So
Lots,
Woodforest, yeah, it has its
lots
own
of
golf
Bay
course.
Area, lots of Bay Area golfers looking for places across the country. So that's one thing I'm glad you shared because that's a big question. Yeah.
Yeah, and the golf course, it's funny, I was there last night. But the church that I go to had an event, a men's event. And so part of the men's event was having a barbecue dinner and then going over and having a putt-putt competition, putting competition.
Yeah.
And this golf course is, they said it, a professional golfer designed it, and they're actually still investing into this golf course. And so it's pristine. It's gorgeous. So I was just there last night, having fun, and actually my father, I invited him to go with me. So it's a great place for kids and grandparents, grandkids.
Mhm.
They can literally do life, kind of the Bonterra, and they have their place, and then you could share activities. So it's a really neat environment for that.
Love that. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful. Yeah.
So next slide, I think, has another home. Let me see what the, yeah. Well, this is another Johnson development. This isn't necessarily a 55 plus,
Okay.
but if, for instance, maybe you're 55 plus and you're thinking, I wonder if my kids would like this area. They have these types of things around Houston. So here's one Johnson development called Jordan Ranch. Here's one called Riverstone. And these are probably hour and a half, 2 hours from Woodforest.
Okay.
But just letting you know that this is there. And look at this. I mean, it's gorgeous. These wave
Beautiful.
pools and like they do all these things. I mean, need to attract the families with kids.
Mhm.
So there's lots of choices there.
It looks like you're on vacation. I love that.
That's right. Going to a water park.
Yeah, exactly.
But let's see what the next slide. A lot of you have heard of Del Webb, of course.
Yep.
They're all over the
Yep.
United States. So this is one out in Richmond, Texas. This is, I believe, west of Houston. So, and just a good example of price points.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can be in a Del Webb for 289. Here's a house. I got this off MLS, a listing service in my local area. This just came about a week ago. So you can get something under 300K if you want a budget friendly home
Yeah.
and then have a rental. I
Yep.
mean, or have three rentals.
Super common. And that's another thing that I wanted to ask you. So we have a lot of people who ask about where can they go to invest across the country. So give me a quick, what would something like that rent for? Let's say that property that you buy for 300,000, that's a nice little 3 and 2 or 2 and 2. What would it rent for? Approximately.
In the Del Webb or just anywhere?
Just anywhere, like approximate rental in your
Yeah, probably a 3-2. If you want to get a decent area, I would say if you're going to get a rental, it's something you can manage it
Yeah.
to be in Montgomery County. The value is going to hold really well in Montgomery County.
Mhm.
So I'd say a 3-2 you could get for 300K.
What would that rent for approximately?
Oh, rent for, yeah,
Yeah.
rent for is probably 200, excuse me, 2,000 and probably 18, depends on how nice it is inside.
Yeah.
1,800 to 2,500.
Well, and what people don't realize is so in our area, this is why people go across the country to places like where you live to buy a rental sometimes. I encourage buyers to do that because California is wonderful. It's a wonderful place to buy a home and live but the prices for what you rent the house for versus what it costs. So like for instance, I have clients that pay 1.2 million for a nice townhome here, 1.3 million, and those would rent for 3,500. Or
Okay,
they could go to your market and spend 300-ish and rent it for 1,800 to 2,000. The return on investment is just per month would be stronger. So it's something that
sure.
people oftentimes look at. So thank you. That's wonderful. Yeah.
Yeah. And that was something I was telling you at the beginning that I worked with a couple of California clients recently, but that was their goal.
Yeah.
And those particular clients were not, they were, I would say, in the late 40s,
Yeah.
but they were looking ahead. They took the equity. They were in San Pedro area.
Yeah.
So they sold their home, I think, for 1.2, bought a house probably for about the 700s.
Yeah.
They also bought another investment home. And now, like you said, they're preparing to, you know, the money they're making off the rental is to put that into an assisted living facility. So
Make a
just a
business.
great example right there. That and just to let you know, Lisa, about a month ago, their friends were thinking of moving from California to Montgomery County,
Yeah.
and we set it up to where basically I gave them a day tour, and I took them around to a lot of these places, saying, and I'm willing to do that for anybody you send to me. Say, I'll just go and take you literally a private tour, and we're going and looking at different areas of Montgomery County, just
Yeah.
to kind of survey. So just want to
Well,
let you
like
know.
I said, California is beautiful, but I get questions every day from people who are thinking they want to consider places and they need information about what would it look like to move to those areas. So to come to the Houston and surrounding, this is a wonderful information for them, so thank you.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yep, it's just not the same this is the same Del Webb
Yeah.
55 plus community, the Sweetgrass. But you
Beautiful.
can see, I mean, gorgeous amenities, pickleball courts galore, putting greens, bocce. It's you've got a lot of different things. So
Yeah. Love it.
yeah, next slide would be great. And mentioned this earlier, Ritz-Carlton residences. I actually toured them. Yes, I had the golf. I played some golf with my dad. Yes, I didn't play golf. We just did some putting.
Mhm.
Uh, but I went here yesterday. I took a 30-minute tour, and I'd been hearing about this in the Woodlands. They're building this. I mean, it's current, and I drove right next. They're still constructing this. So I drove right next to it, set up an appointment, went and met with the sales representative,
Mhm.
and she gave me fantastic information. But if you're in the price point, this is a condo. We're talking about they sold, this tells you how popular this was. This is not even built yet.
Yeah.
In the first day, there were 4 penthouse suites. They sold less than 4 hours.
Wow.
Those penthouse suites were 10 million a piece. But we're talking 4,000 square foot. You're on the top.
Right.
So this is like,
This
yeah.
is a
So
luxury. Just a
yeah, just letting you know,
luxury.
this is a luxury condominium resort, not a resort, but condo. So, and
Yeah.
also if you're doing like they have 1,800 square feet,
Yeah.
all the way down to that, 1,200 even square foot. So you can get those in the 2 million to 3 million for
Okay.
that. But that
That's
includes a lot of other things, but just want to let you know about that. And I have more information if you want on that.
you.
Yeah, next slide. This is another one in Montgomery County called Chambers Creek. I've toured this before. They have a model home road where you can see a bunch of different model homes from different builders.
Yeah.
Gorgeous community. This is even more north, right off Lake Conroe. If you go up Interstate 45, it's just a community off there. Lots of green space. Have its own vineyard, biking trails. I even took a electric bike ride out on these trails. It's just gorgeous. You can see the man there biking, but they have even concrete trails that you can get on, like sidewalks, and then they have kind of a dirt. It's a golf cart type community, golf course right there. It's just beautiful. And there's a lake. I don't know if you can see the top right picture. There
Yeah.
is a lake in the community, so you can go canoeing.
That's beautiful.
There's even a little cathedral. It's just gorgeous. This little tiny cathedral up on the hill. Maybe there's a picture later about it. Yeah, maybe go to the next picture. There's the vineyard. No, there's not a picture of the little cathedral, but just a beautiful place. Rolling hills. Maybe
Mhm.
you're used to some of that, or some parts of California.
Well,
So
our Bay Area, you mentioned the last slide was the cyclist, a lot of cycle, we have a mountain called Mount Diablo here that people cycle up but just the fact that there's vineyard and, trails and hiking and golfing and that's what typically our neighbors and things, families are looking.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah, and this is a beautiful community. I mean, and if you look it up, even Google it online, you can find even more pictures.
Okay.
And this is one too. If you came and just wanted to do just to see what this area is like, this is one that could easily just take you on a tour, and
Yeah,
that you'll get in a golf cart and they'll take you everywhere and show you everything. That's really nice.
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah. So again, that's Chambers Creek. Creek. Yeah, next slide. Hospitals is always good to know about, and what is available. How close are they?
Mhm.
If you're in Houston, it's one of the 55 plus communities. I mean, there's all kinds of hospitals, especially downtown. So if there's emergency, there's clinics all over the place in the Houston area in particular. But if you come up to Montgomery County, it's not like you're coming out to the country necessarily. There
Right.
is country rural areas for sure. If you want to just take a drive out and see farmland, you can do that. But there's very populated areas, for instance, like the Woodlands, like I told you about, Conroe, some other small towns are Magnolia. But here in Conroe, you can see some of these are in Conroe, the Woodlands Hospital, St. Luke's Health, Memorial Herman, that's right there in the Woodlands. So if you move to the Woodlands, you have a hospital probably 5 to 10 minutes away from you. I mean,
Yeah,
literally.
everyone asks about that. As we get to the place of retirement and after, people want to be close to their medical facilities and things. How close is the nearest airports too? I know you guys are pretty close to
Yeah.
major airports
Yeah,
too.
there's a few municipal airports, one in Conroe, but for private jets mostly. But there are George Bush International.
Okay.
So I would say George Bush from where the Woodlands is in Montgomery County, I'd say a good 30 minutes to 45 minutes.
Okay, that's what we're used
Somewhere
to.
in there.
Yeah, we're used
Yep.
to that. Yeah, perfect.
So there's another one too in Houston that's a little bit further. I'd say hour and a half, hour and a half. But the
Okay.
international major hub is right there, the closer one to the Woodlands. And just for a little bit of perspective, the Woodlands is right off a major interstate
Hmm.
that goes right into Houston. So you can literally go from the Woodlands and probably within 10 minutes you can be on the interstate heading south to Houston or
Perfect.
heading south to the airport.
Yep.
So and the hospitals buffer the Woodlands. So they're right on the Woodlands. So it's right on the perimeter or in parts of the hospitals. I mean, the hospitals, some of them are right in the Woodlands. So it's super convenient. And all the clinics, there's lots of small clinics, ophthalmologist, podiatrist. They're all right there as well, like one-story buildings.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Mhm. Yeah, go next slide. Oh,
Yeah, get us information. Oh my gosh, Josh, thank you so much for sharing. Like I said, I have questions even just yesterday from a client who is they're contemplating their next adventure. He sold his business, and this is a pretty common discussion. They sold their business. They're thinking, where should we go? They're thinking parts of the country like Texas and others. And so I love to have resources like you where I can, guide them to someone that they can trust who knows that area. And I wanted to share your background. You mentioned that you
yeah.
were before real estate, you were a teacher, which we all honor our teachers. That's wonderful. What grades did you teach?
Yes, I've always been involved with children, whether
Yeah.
that be at a school or a church. But I was kindergarten through 12th grade. I taught adults before, so I was always an art and music teacher. So wherever I went, it was either both of those at the same time, or so I'm used to kids. And just a little bit about me too. We have 6 children ourselves, so we have
Wow.
a full house.
Wow.
So I know what it's like to raise teenagers. I have a 19-year-old now. My youngest is 11, so I'm just a real person.
Yeah.
Just what you see is what you get.
Yeah. Well, that's
Um,
important because
Not pushy, just I'd love to serve and help whoever comes my way.
well, and that's one of the things that I like about you, Josh, is that you are, we feel the same way. It's about contributing to the overall community and helping families to find a place that they love for their next adventures. So
Yeah.
thank you so much. Now, Josh, I know you have on the screen here, where we can find you, your website, your phone number, all of that. So if anyone has questions, they're always welcome to reach out. And then, thanks so much, Josh. We appreciate your time.
All right. Thank you, Lisa. Thanks for having me
Well,
today.
see you soon. Take care.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.